All right, welcome to Wise Networking. We're going to do something kind of simple today and just show you how to configure for DHCP, like a dynamic host. And that way it automatically gives your end devices IP addresses instead of you statically assigning all of them. It will pull from a pool. So I'm going to show you a couple ways to do it, a couple different setups here. We'll do one using a layer 3 switch, kind of as a router to run DHCP, and the other one we'll do as a server. So the first one I'm going to do is this one here on this layer 3 switch. Basically, if you go in here, you'll see we don't have these configured for anything here on your end devices. So we don't have any IP address for anything or subnet mask. What we will do, we're going to have a network in here. We'll just call this 192.168.100.0/24 network. Okay, so first thing to do to configure this router for DHCP, you have to come in here to the command line. We'll do enable. We'll do configure terminal. And once you're here, you gotta give it like a pool of IP addresses that you want to use. So what we'll type in here is IP DHCP. Pool. And we'll name it, like this one we can name main LAN. And once you do that, you'll see it goes into this DHCP configure. So then you're going to give that DHCP a network. So go network, and we'll do our 192.168.100.0. That's 255.255.255.0 for the /24 subnet. And return there. And then we have to give it a default gateway. So you'll do default dash router. And then we'll give it that gateway of 192.168.100.1. And we'll enter there. Okay, so we have that main thing configured now. At this point, you can do some optional things. You can give an IP address for a DNS server if you like, if you want to set DNS with it. I'm not going to do that right here. You can also exclude some addresses if you want. I'm not going to do that right now. I'll come back to that. So you can actually exit out of here. What we have to do is we'll have to give this interface an IP address, though, since we gave it a default router gateway here. So we'll go into our interface 0/1/0. Invalid. Hang on. Oh, okay. Type that wrong. It's just 0/1. Okay, so now we're in that interface, and we'll just give this an IP address of 192.168.100.1, 255.255.255.0. So that'll be our default gateway, which is the same as our default router that we set up for the DHCP. We'll put, man, here. Oh, sorry, my bad. It's on a layer 3 switch, so I have to say first, no switch port to bring that up. Now, IP address 192.168.100.1, 255.255.255.0. There. All right, so we gave that. Gave that interface and IP address. We'll just do a show run real quick. So you can see here on the show run, I have an IP DHCP pool called main LAN. The network is going to be 192.168.100.0. The default router is 192.168.100.1. And that gigabit Ethernet port 01 has a IP address of 192.168.100.1, which is the default gateway. So now that is set up. So you should be able to go in here to your end device. We'll just click on DHCP. And it automatically gave it an address of 192.168.100.2. So the 1.1 was already used. So it went to the next one, .2, and this one will be .3. Now if you'd want to reserve, say, the first 10 IP addresses for static ones like certain printers or other servers or something that you wanted to use, you can go in here and we can exclude certain IP addresses by just doing configure terminal. And we'll go IP DHCP excluded address, and then you can type a range. So a 192.168.100.1 space, and then the next one up. So 192.100 say .10. So that way you won't be able to use anything in between there. So your devices, like if I go in here and go DHCP, now this one should start at .11 because I reserved 1 through 10, excluded those from the pool so they can't use them. So if we go back into this one, and we'll just hit static, we'll go back, and it should go up to like 12 right there. 192.168.12. So now you have IP addresses for your end devices that were automatically configured from this switch here. So you didn't have to configure those. And then, oops, just to, we'll go in here and we'll just ping the gateway. And you can do that, and you can ping .11, I believe it was. Yep. And that was this. That's pinging this PC over here. Okay, and that's how you. So that's how you set it up on a layer 3 switch or a router. That's how you set DHCP up. Now to set it up just on a straight server, it's a GUI interface. There's no command line in here. So the one thing you have to do is you come into config, and I'm actually on, let's move this. I'm on this one here. So this interface, which is this interface right here, you're gonna have to give that an IP address, like in the pool you want. So we'll do 192.168. We'll do this one .10.1 on a 255.255.255.0/24. So that way it'll have an IP address there to get this started. And then, so once you have the IP address just for that port, then you can go into services, and we're going to set up DHCP right here. You click that, and it has kind of a default one in here. But we're going to redo this. So basically the first thing you do on this fast Ethernet 0, you're going to turn this service on. You're going to name it, like we named the last one main LAN. We'll just call this one LAN 2. And then we got the default gateway, which is the 192.168.10.1. which we just put in that configure area. DNS server we're not going to do. So here's your start IP address. So 192.168.10.0. So if we want to exclude like we did earlier and not start until like .11, we can put a 10 right there. So the first ones will drop out. You still got a subnet mask here of 255.255.255.0, which is a 24. And we're going to click add, and it adds it right there. So click on that and click save. And you should be able to get an IP address using DHCP. And right there it came. It actually gave it a 10.2. Let me make sure I did that exclusion right. Let me hit save again here, because now it looks like this bounced down to 246. It was like at 512. Let me hit save on that again. And we'll do this one. Gave it a .3. Okay, I mean, it's given an IP address in the right network. I thought it was going to start at 11 or 12. Oh, maybe I think this is my problem. For some reason it's seeing this server pool and I can't remove it. So I'm actually just going to gong this one out. And go back to here, click save. Save. All right, now let's see. It's just that one. Hit static and go back to DHCP. There it goes. Now it gave me the .10. So it starts at I basically gave it a starting point at .10, so I didn't start it until .10, so 0 through 9 can't be used. And then we can go ahead and configure this one, go back here, go back there. Okay, and that automatically gives it the IP address there. And just a note, just on that, we talked about, I guess, on this default one, just make sure you zero out the subnet mask or the IP address, so it doesn't try to use that as a default. All right, and the last thing, I guess we'll just try to ping the gateway. Turn that one. Oops. There you go. So it can ping the gateway, and we'll be able to ping the other PC, if I can remember. 11. Yep. Okay, so that's how you set up a DHCP. I know that's a real basic one there. Just because, I mean, obviously it can get more confusing when you get multiple VLANs and things like that. But basically what you would do in that situation on this, when you set that DHCP, you would just set multiples of these, you know, and you'd name it instead of LAN 2, you'd name VLAN 10, VLAN 20, VLAN 30, and you would just give each one of those a pool of IP addresses to choose from. So you would have multiples of those in here. You just click add for each one you want. Okay, thanks for watching. That's just a quick way to set up DHCP. Once again, this is Wise Networking. Like and subscribe. Thank you.